Zelra stood at the edge of the Grand Zerthon market, holding her small child close to her chest. Her long gray cloak was dusty. Her arms ached from carrying her boy all day. The crowd moved around her like she didn't exist. "Please," she whispered to a merchant who passed by. "I'll clean your shop. I'll carry your crates. I just need work." The alien merchant didn't even look at her. He simply shook his tentacled head and moved on. Zelra swallowed hard and pulled her child closer. He was thin, too thin. His eyes bright blue and full of dreams looked up at her. "Mama, did they say yes?" I asked softly. She forced a smile. "Not yet, baby. But soon. Someone will give us a chance." All around them, other aliens were selling fruits, tools, weapons, and shiny machines. The scent of grilled meat filled the air, but Zelra had no credits. No job. No home. Once she had been part of a respected clan. But after her mate disappeared, branded a traitor, she was left alone. And worse, her son was called the traitor's spawn. Nobody wanted her. No one even wanted to be seen speaking. To her, she moved from one stall to another, offering her help. But everywhere, the answer was the same. No. Some merchants pretended not to hear. Others looked away. One even laughed and said, You're a curse. Get away from my shop." Zelra's hands shook. She felt small, broken. Her son's legs dangled tiredly from her arms, his head now resting against her shoulder. Suddenly, he coughed, dry and sharp. Panic flashed in her chest. He needed medicine. He needed food. But what could she do? She turned away, planning to leave the market and find shelter under the cargo docks. Then a voice spoke from behind her. Calm, clear, deep. "You're hired." She froze. Slowly she turned. A tall figure stood there. Human, broad shoulders. Tan skin, brown stubble on his chin. His eyes were tired but kind. He wore a long coat with faded patches on the sleeves and heavy boots that looked like they'd walked 1,000 miles. "I beg your pardon?" Zelra asked, confused. "I said you're hired," he repeated. If you're not afraid to work with a human, Zelra's mind raced. Human? She had only seen one or two in her life, and always from a distance. Most aliens didn't trust. Them, too clever, too fast, too ... different. She opened her mouth, but no words came. The human stepped forward slowly, not threatening, just confident. He looked at her son, then back at her. "You look like you need a job. I need someone who can follow orders, keep things clean, and keep secrets. That sound like something you can do?" Zelra blinked. "Why would you offer me a job?" He tilted his head slightly. "Because no one else will." She studied his face, trying to see if it was a trick. Was he being cruel? Was he mocking her, like the others? But no. There was no laughter in his eyes. Only truth. "What's the job?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The human smiled slightly. "You'll see. But first your boy needs food. Come with me." Zelra hesitated. Her heart screamed warnings. She didn't know this man. He was human. He could be dangerous. But then her son coughed again, and she saw a small protein bar appear in the human's hand. "Here," said softly, offering it to the child. "It's not much, but it'll help for now." Her son looked up, eyes wide, then reached out. Zelra didn't stop him. As the boy munched hungrily, human turned to walk. Zelra stood frozen for a second, then followed, through narrow alleys. And back corridors, she kept close. She didn't speak, too afraid to break the fragile moment. Finally, they reached a hidden platform with a small shuttle. It wasn't fancy. In fact, it looked like it was falling apart. The human waved her in. "Welcome to my outpost." Zelra hesitated at the door. She looked back at the city behind her, cooled, cruel, and filled with those who never gave her a chance. Then she looked at the man who did, and she stepped inside. Little did she know, this was not just the start of a job. It was the beginning of everything. Zelra stepped into the human's shuttle, holding her son tight. She expected cold metal and flickering lights, but the inside surprised her. It was warm. The walls were old but clean. Tools were neatly stacked. A small heating unit buzzed softly in the corner. The human walked ahead, his steps heavy but relaxed. Her son whispered, "It smells like oil and soup." Zelra didn't respond. She didn't trust it yet. "Sit," the human said, pointing. To a bench near the small control console, Zelra sat carefully, keeping her eyes on him. She noticed how he moved, not like a soldier, not like a traitor, something else. He returned with 2 bowls, one filled with thick brown stew, the other with hot water and cloth. "Food first," he said, placing the bowl in front of her son. "Then I'll explain your work." Zelra's son didn't wait. He dug into the stew like a wild thing. Zelra blinked hard, trying not to cry. Her stomach ached too, but she let him eat first. "You're kind," she said carefully, looking at the human. "But who are you really?" He gave a half smile and sat down across from her. "Name's Jackson. Cargo hauler, engineer, sometimes. Fixer of problems." Zelra tilted her head. "Hey, what kind of problems?" Jackson stared at her for a second, then said, "The kind people like you deal with, the ones no one wants to admit exist." She didn't understand what he meant. Not yet. After her son finished eating, Jackson stood and walked to a locked panel. On the wall, the quick tap on the code pad, it hissed open. Inside were strange devices. Some looked like tools, others like weapons, and a few Zelra couldn't even name. He pulled out a small cube. It glowed faintly. "You'll use this," he said, handing it to her. Zelra held the cube carefully. "What is it? Translator, scanner, and task manager all in one? Think of it like a smart assistant. It tells you what to do. Press this side to start recording, and that side to send reports." Zelra stared at it. "But I thought I'd be sweeping floors or folding clothes." Jackson shook his head. "I don't need a maid. Need someone who can observe and report quietly. There are things moving in this sector. Strange trade routes, vanishing ships, corrupt deals. Someone needs to track patterns from the ground." "You'll help me watch," Zelra frowned. "You want me to be? Spy?" Jackson raised an eyebrow. "Not exactly, just eyes and ears." "You'll walk the markets. Listen. Pretend you're still. Desperate. They'll ignore you again, just like they always do. But this time, you'll be listening." Zelra looked down at the glowing cube. Her hands trembled. "I'm no one important. I don't even have proper training." Jackson's voice softened. "They see a burden. I see a shadow. Someone who moves without being noticed. That's more powerful than you think." For a moment, she didn't speak. Her mind raced. What if he was lying? What if this was all a setup? Her child, his face finally relaxed. His stomach full, and she knew she had to try. "I'll do it," she said. Jackson nodded. "Good. First mission's tomorrow, but you'll need to rest." He showed her a small sleeping room. It had a single bed, some blankets, and even a small plush toy, clearly made for a child. She clutched her son and whispered, "Thank you, Jackson." Paused at the door. "One more thing." Zelra turned to him. "I don't care about your past," he said. "I care about what you choose to do now." And he left them alone. That night, Zelra lay awake in the dark room, staring at the ceiling. The cube pulsed softly on the table beside her. She thought about all the aliens who had spat at her, who had called her traitor's mate and waste of flesh. And now she was something else. Not a servant, not a beggar, but a watcher, maybe even a protector. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was bigger than Jackson had said. Why would a human hire her for something like this? And what had he meant by things are moving in this sector? She closed her eyes. She didn't know that her new job would uncover secrets that could shake the galaxy, and that she and Jackson were about to become targets. Zelra's feet moved silently across the cold metal floor as she entered the warehouse, guided only by the soft blinking light of her task cube. The old building creaked under the weight of night. Shadows stretched along the walls like watchful spirits. She had finished her routine reports early, but something felt off tonight. Jackson hadn't returned since morning. He always came back before dark. Her child was asleep back in their room, curled up with the human toy Jackson had given him, but Zelra couldn't rest.
Not yet.
Her job, as Jackson had said, was simple. Listen, observe, report. But lately strange things had started happening. On her way back from the market earlier that day, she noticed 3 cloaked aliens watching her, not with pity. With interest, she walked faster. Now, she was following Jackson's faint footprints into the restricted part of the warehouse area he had told her not to enter. But tonight, she broke the rule, because tonight, something was wrong. She reached a half-open steel door. Inside, voices echoed. Zelra froze. "She doesn't know," said a raspy voice. "You sure she's not working for them?" "She's clean," said Jackson's voice, low, steady. "She's just a mother trying to survive. I picked her for that reason." Zelra's heart pounded in her chest. She peeked through the crack. Jackson stood facing a tall alien dressed in dark armor, his face hidden behind a breathing mask. Behind him were 2 more Shadows mercenaries or bodyguards. The alien's claws tapped against a glowing datapad. "You're taking a big risk, harboring the child of that bloodline." Jackson didn't blink. "The child is innocent. It's just a kid." "They won't care," the alien hissed. "The bounty is already live. The moment the guild realizes where she is, they'll send more than just spies." Zelra's blood ran cold. The guild. They knew she was here. They were after her son. She stepped back, but the floor creaked. All 3 heads turned toward the door. Jackson's eyes met hers. Zelra bolted. She didn't stop to listen. Didn't care what the rest of the conversation was. She raced back to her room, heart hammering, legs shaking. She grabbed her son, still half asleep, and pulled him into her arms. "Mama," he mumbled. "What's wrong?" "Quiet," she whispered. "We might need to run." The door opened. Behind her, but it wasn't the masked alien. It was Jackson. Alone, he raised his hand slowly. "You heard, didn't you?" Zelra stared at him. "They're coming for us. You knew all along." "Yes," he said softly. "But I didn't." "Lie?" "I chose you because you deserved a chance. And I chose to protect your son, because no child deserves to pay for his father's sins." Her voice trembled. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because if you knew," he said, "you would have run. And you wouldn't have lasted a day." Out there alone, she looked at him with fire in her eyes. "Don't act like you saved us. You used me. You used my pain." Jackson nodded. "I did, but now it's not about survival anymore. It's about fighting back." Zelra blinked. "Fighting? Who?" Jackson tapped a screen on the wall. A hologram blinked to life. Dozens of names, dozens of faces, red marks, crossed files. "The guild doesn't just silence criminals," he said. "They silence truth. They hunt anyone connected to the secrets your mate stole before he vanished. And those secrets, they lead here." He zoomed in on a file, genetic map. Her son's DNA was highlighted. He's the key to unlocking what the guild has buried. And now they want him gone. Zelra couldn't breathe. Jackson stepped forward. "You still want to leave? Won't stop you." She looked down at her son. Innocent, fragile, breathing softly. Then she stood tall. "No, I won't run anymore." A slow smile crept across Jackson's face. "Good. Because tomorrow, we send them a message." Zelra didn't know what was coming next, but she had seen something in Jackson's eyes that scared her more than the guild.rage. And maybe a plan. Zelra sat quietly in the corner of Jackson's outpost, her arms wrapped around her knees. Her son slept beside her, unaware of the storm that had begun. Outside, rain fell hard across the cracked metal rooftops of the city. The world felt colder now, not just from the weather, but from the truth she'd just learned. She was never unwanted because she was poor, never rejected because she was weak. They had turned her away because they feared what was inside her. Son's blood. Jackson entered the room, carrying 2 mugs of hot liquid. One for himself, one for her. She didn't look at him at first. He set the mug beside her and sat on the floor across from her, not saying anything, just waiting. After a long silence, she finally whispered, "You knew about my mate." "Yes," he said. "I knew who he was. Before the war ended, tried to expose the guild. He tried to warn everyone that they were hiding something powerful and dangerous. But they erased him, branded him a traitor, hunted down anyone tied to him. Zelra's eyes filled with tears. So, all this time I was being punished for his actions. Jackson nodded. It's not just you, your son too. They're afraid of him because his father injected himself with a prototype serum before he vanished. A serum that could rewrite DNA to adapt faster than any species ever seen. Zelra blinked. And now, that's inside my child. Jackson's voice lowered. Part of it, yes. His body may hold something that even the guild doesn't fully understand, and they won't rest until they've taken it, or destroyed it. Zelra looked down at her sleeping son. He's just a boy. He doesn't even know how to read yet. Cries when he stubs his toe. I know, Jackson said gently. That's why I'm trying to protect him, but why? She asked suddenly, voice sharp. Why help me? Why not turn us in for the bounty? You'd be rich. You could disappear. No one would chase you. Jackson leaned back, staring at the ceiling for a moment. Because years ago when I was broke and hiding from a war I didn't want to fight, a woman gave me shelter. She had nothing. A farm, a child. And she still fed me, protected me, even when the soldiers came looking. Zelra narrowed her eyes. What happened to her? He didn't speak for a long time, then said she died, shot in front of me. She chose kindness. Zelra's chest tightened. She felt something unfamiliar in her throat, not fear this time. Guilt, anger, connection. Jackson looked at her now. So when I saw you in that market, I saw her. Someone who still had the courage to stand tall, even when the world wanted you to crawl. Zelra wiped a tear away quickly. Jackson added, You think you were just a beggar, but I saw someone who refused to give up. That's not weakness. That's survival. Zelra took a deep breath, the fire in her slowly rising. And we survived. Together, Jackson smiled faintly. We do more than survive. We fight back. Suddenly, a soft beep echoed from the task cube on the table. A flashing red signal pulsed across the surface. Zelra stood. What is that? Jackson checked the device, his eyes narrowing. Guild scout drones. 3. Scanning near the outer fence. Zelra's body went cold. They found us. Maybe, he said calmly. Or maybe they're guessing. It's matter we don't wait. Jackson grabbed a small black case from the corner and handed it to her. What's this? She asked. He opened it. Inside were disguises, tools, and a small hidden communicator. Your first real field mission, he said. I want you to visit a contact in the Undercity, a half-blind Cernari trader. Ask him for the dustless grain, he'll know. Zelra frowned. Why me? Because they're watching me now? They still think you're just the background noise? He smiled. Let them keep thinking that. Zelra closed the case slowly, feeling her hands grow steadier. All her life, they saw her as a burden now. She was becoming a weapon, and she was done hiding. Asterisk. Rain poured hard as Zelra moved through the tight alleys of the Undercity. Steam hissed from broken vents. Neon lights flickered overhead. Her hood was pulled low, and she clutched the black case Jackson had given her close to her chest. No one gave her a second glance. Good. That's what Jackson had wanted, but deep inside, she felt it, eyes watching, shadows that didn't move, and a silent pressure in the air that made her stomach twist. She reached a rusted food stall lit with a single red bulb. Behind it sat a wrinkled alien with one white eye and a scar down. His jaw, just like Jackson had described. Zelra hesitated, then whispered, I'm here for the dustless grain. The old Cernari's one eye blinked. He reached under the table and pulled out a data ship wrapped in foil. Take this. Run back. Don't stop. They followed you. Zelra's heart dropped. She didn't ask questions. She grabbed the chip and ran. Back at the outpost, Jackson stood near the outer wall, checking motion sensors. Rain blurred the cameras. Readings were fuzzy, but one thing was clear. 3 heat signatures, moving fast. Not drones. Not scouts. Mercenaries. He turned and activated the lockdown. Steel doors slammed. Lights flickered red, He rushed to Zelra's room, only to find it empty. "She's not back yet," he growled. He grabbed his weapon, a custom plasma rifle, and headed toward the west entrance. Just then, a scream echoed through the cums. Her son Zelra reached the outpost gates. Just as they exploded, she flew back from the shockwave. The data ship flew from her hand. Smoke and fire swallowed the doorway. 3 armored figures stepped out, weapons glowing. One of them a tall, muscular alien with glowing red eyes held her child in his clawed grip. The boy kicked and screamed, tears running down his face. "Mama, no," Zelra cried, sprinting. 4 WARDA blast shot past her. Jackson had arrived. His plasma rifle screamed with light. One mercenary dropped, another ducked. Zelra dove, rolled, and scooped up the data ship again. She looked up just in time to see Jackson charging, but the 3rd mercenary pulled a device from his belt, a small black sphere pulsing with red veins. "A bomb, hand over the child," the mercenary growled, "or this detonates. The whole compound goes with it." Jackson paused, his rifle lowered slightly. "Let the boy go, he's just a kid. It's the carrier," the alien spat. "The guild wants him dead or delivered. You choose." Zelra stepped forward, shaking, eyes locked on the bomb. Her voice cracked. "Take me instead. Let him go." The mercenary laughed. "You're worth nothing. He's the only target." Tears blurred her vision. She felt useless until her fingers brushed something in her pocket. The signal cube. Without thinking, she pressed both sides at once. An emergency distress burst Jackson had installed. It sent a shock pulse. The mercenary holding the bomb jerked back, startled for half a second. Jackson moved like lightning. A shot to the wrist disarmed the bomb wielder. Zelra tackled the other one from behind, sinking her claws into soft tissue beneath the armor plates. Her son fell, landing hard but safe. Jackson grabbed him, spun, and fired again. The red-eyed alien snarled and lunged toward Zelra, but she didn't. "Run." She stood tall and faced him. "Come," she whispered, her voice full of something cold. "Ready?" Just as the alien raised his blade boom, a blast from Jackson's secondary launcher hit the wall beside him, collapsing part of the ceiling. Dust, fire, silence. When it cleared, the mercenaries were down. The bomb device was broken. The boy was safe in Jackson's arms. Zelra rushed forward and held him tight, tears falling freely. "I'm here. I'm here." Jackson leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "Nice tackle." She looked up at him. "Told you I wasn't just background noise." He chuckled, coughing. "No, you're something else." She helped him stand, but none of them smiled for long. The attack had left the outpost damaged. The alarms were still blinking, and now, there was no doubt, the guild knew exactly where they were. Zelra looked at the chip still in her hand, now cracked and smoking. "Did we lose it?" she asked. Jackson took it, examined it, then smiled. "No, the core is intact." He looked at her and nodded. "This chip holds everything. The truth about your son's DNA, about your mate, and about what the guild has been hiding." Zelra held her son close. They had survived, but it was no longer about just hiding anymore. It was time to go public. Time to fight. The outpost lights were dim. Smoke curled from broken walls. The power grid was unstable, flickering on and off, in waves, but inside Zelra stood still, steady like the eye of a storm. She wasn't crying anymore. She wasn't trembling. Her claws were stained with blood, her tunic torn at the shoulder. Her son sat wrapped in a blanket near the heating unit, safely asleep again, this time with Jackson's blaster rifle resting beside him. She had faced death, and something inside her had changed. Jackson watched her silently from across the room, leaning on the table as he examined the cracked data ship. "They'll be back, probably with a full squad next time." "I know," Zelra said. "We won't survive another hit like that." "I know," she repeated. Her voice was steady. "No fear, just fire." Jackson looked at her for a long second. "You're not the same woman I met in that market." Zelra looked him in the eye. "No, I'm not." She walked over and placed her hand on the chip. "You send the data now." Jackson raised an eyebrow. It's dangerous. Once it goes out, everyone will know the guild's secret. They'll come harder. Not just after the boy, but after you. After me. Zelra didn't flinch. Let them come. Jackson stared at Hearth and smiled. That's the spirit. He slid over a handheld transmitter. This will broadcast it through a pirate signal node, but it has to be uploaded manually from the control tower. Zelra nodded. I'll go. No, Jackson said instantly. I go. You stay and protect your son. Zelra's eyes hardened. You taught me how to survive. Now let me show you what I've learned. Later that night, Zelra stood outside the outpost gates, wrapped in body armor 2 sizes too big. The transmitter was locked to her back. The tower wasn't far, just past the industrial ruins. She moved through the shadows, fast and focused. Every part of her was alive now. Her steps were silent. Her heartbeat slow. She wasn't running anymore. She was fighting. Suddenly, dash movement. 2 guild enforcers stood at the tower entrance. Scanning the area with thermal lenses, Zelra crouched behind a broken vent pipe. She pulled out one of Jackson's smoke grenades. Breathe. Focus. She tossed it to the left. Away from her, boom-white smoke burst in all directions. She dashed through the side while they turned. One tried to shout, but she was already leaping. Claws first. She took him down with a swipe across the visor. The other one raised a gun, but her blade sliced his wrist before he could fire. One moment, one chance. She grabbed his head, slammed it into the wall. Silence, she stood over them. Chest rising and falling, eyes wide with power. She didn't just fight like a mother protecting her child. She fought like someone reclaiming her identity. Inside the tower, lights flickered. The control panel waited. She slid in the chip. It sparked, but held. The screen lit up. Transmission beginning. Images appeared. DNA maps, guild documents, experiments, videos of children in cages, secret labs, all of it -truth. She pressed send. The signal spread across the system like wildfire. Pirate channels. Rebel satellites within minutes. The data would reach every major planet in the sector, and the guild's lie would be exposed. Zelra fell to her knees, breathing hard. Her mission was done. Then dash footsteps. Heavy cold. She turned. A towering figure stepped into view, covered in black and gold armor. His mask glowed. A high-ranking guild executioner. I see the mother has claws, he said in a smooth, icy voice. Zelra stood. I see the guild is afraid of a woman, she replied. The executioner raised a plasma blade. You will die for what you've done. Zelra reached behind her and pulled free the short shock staff Jackson had given her. I've already died, she said. The day they took everything from me. Now I take it back. The battle was fast and brutal. Sparks flew, blades clashed. Zelra moved like a blur, ducking and striking, using every trick Jackson had taught her. She was no longer just a survivor. She was a fighter. A warrior. And when the executioner finally felt his armor burning, his mask cracked, Zelra stood over him, chest heaving. This is for my son. She walked out into the night. The tower behind her burned. The stars above her glowed. Back at the outpost, Jackson stood at the gate, watching her return, bloodied, bruised, but changed forever. Asterisk, asterisk. The sun rose slowly over the damaged skyline of Sector Thalos, lighting the metal towers in a soft golden glow. Ash floated gently through the air from the smoldering remains of the guild's control tower. It was over, and it had only just begun. Inside the outpost, Zelra stood in front of a cracked mirror. Her hands were wrapped in bandages. There were bruises along her ribs. But when she looked at herself now, she didn't see a burden. She saw a survivor. No, more than that, she saw a warrior. A mother. A symbol her son stirred behind her on the cat, rubbing his eyes sleepily. Mama, are the bad people gone? She knelt and kissed his forehead. They'll never hurt you again. Outside, the air buzzed not with danger, but with voices. For the first time, people were coming. Not enforcers, not mercenaries, refugees, reporters, traders, fighters, all. Answering the signal she had broadcast, the truth had shaken the system, and now they were arriving to join her. Jackson stood at the gate, watching the shuttlecrafts land. On the old platform, his coat flapped in the wind, one arm in a sling, but the pride in his eyes burned bright. "You broke the system," he said as Zelra approached him. She crossed her arms and smiled slightly. "I just told the truth." He glanced at the small crowd forming outside the outpost gates. "Looks like people are ready to listen." Zelra nodded. "Then we give them a reason to stay." He turned to her. "The outpost needs repairs, defenses, leadership." Zelra looked toward the broken horizon. "Then we rebuild it together." Jackson chuckled. "That's one hell of a promotion from jobless beggar to sector leader," she smirked. "You should have offered better pay." They both laughed, but behind the smile, they both understood the weight of what was coming. No longer just an outpost. This place was about to become something far more, a haven. For the unwanted, for the hunted. For those who had nowhere else to go, Zelra walked through the gates, her child's hand in hers. The small crowd turned to face her different species. Different worlds, but all with the same look in their eyes. Hope. One stepped forward, a young alien woman carrying a baby. "Are you the mother who defied the guild?" Zelra hesitated and gave a small nod. Another voice spoke. They say, "You stood alone in the tower. That you fought one of their executioners with just a staff." "She didn't stand alone," Jackson said, walking beside her. "She stood for all of us." The crowd stirred. Zelra looked down at her son, who clutched her fingers tightly, staring at the new faces with cautious eyes. Then she raised her voice. "You were told you weren't strong enough, that you were too poor, too different, too broken. I was told the same." She stepped forward, but I stood up anyway. And now we all stand together. Cheers erupted, not loud, but real. And from those cheers came something stronger than weapons: unity. Later, as the sun climbed higher, the first foundation stones were laid for a new building. It's not just an outpost anymore, a safe zone, a resistance hub, a home. Zelra worked side with others. Her son played with children who had also lost too much. Jackson welded armor plating to the new outer wall while teaching newcomers how to fight. The name of the place? Hollow Light, where there had once been emptiness. A light now shone. A light built not from power, but from compassion, courage, and one chance given by a human to a mother no one else would touch. And somewhere far above, deep in the stars, the guild watched, afraid. Because now, they weren't hunting one desperate woman they had created. A movement, and the mother they tried to break. She was just getting started. Asterisk, asterisk.